evening, my friends. This is Paul, and before we start the video, if you're wondering what the noise is, it's this fireplace that I have here. At the current moment, my house is without heat and without hot water, and literally the only three sources we have in the entire house for keeping warm are this fireplace, the fireplace upstairs, and a tiny little space heater. So, because I've been cold basically all day, you might have parts of the video where I just do this randomly and you'll hear this little whirring sound. So I hope you'll forgive me, but that actually segues really well into what I wanted to talk about. As most of you know, I have had quite the boost in subscriber numbers in the past year. Since 2022, give or take, I have gone from around 1,000-ish subscribers to now approximately, as of the last time I checked, 3,446. However, the reason why I got that many subscribers is, well, it could be a variety of reasons, but I think the main reason is because someone made a meme about my 3DS unboxing video where I titled it Unboxing the New 3DS and Thanking God for It, where I said a prayer of gratitude to the Lord after I was finished unboxing the new gaming system, and some person who was probably trying to make fun of me, like, they put the pose where I was doing like this and then made a meme. Someone else replaced me with a character in the latest Fire Emblem game, and while I thought those memes were funny, what wasn't so funny was the almost literal flood of comments that I got of people saying I came for the meme and who came for the meme? Let's have a show of hands. And it got to the point where I started moderating the comment section of that video because I was tired of the spam and I was tired of people just typing W instead of acting like a human being and actually writing out a cohesive sentence. But as the comment section progressed and after... Why did the heat go off? There we go. As the comment section progressed throughout the months and after I had made a pinned comment saying that the comments were being moderated, I did actually start getting more thoughtful comments. And one of the most common things that I heard after that point were several people, including atheists, who said, I am grateful that you were showing gratitude for a gaming system because it shows me that we need to be more grateful for what we have. So my initial frustration at getting popular because of a meme and people only coming because they thought it was a joke, it helped me to realize that this silly little video I made 6 years ago might have actually changed people's outlook on what to do when we get something cool. Instead of trying to be a hoarder, maybe we should be more grateful. So why did I wait so long to make an entire video dedicated to it? Well, it all started this evening when my mom and I were talking about... If you're wondering why I keep playing with my hair, it's because there's no heat in our house, that also means no hot water. So I have to go to the gym just to take a shower. But again, that segues really well into what I'm trying to say, because we were talking about game collectors and people that collect things just for the sake of saying they have something rare or old, and then they never use it, they never end up playing the game. They just like to say, hey, I have a sealed copy of The Legend of Zelda, complete with the manual, but are you ever going to play it? What's the point of having a game if you don't play it? There are those of us who are in not that great of a financial situation, and there are others who have it way worse than I do. We would give, well, I wouldn't say anything, but we would give almost anything to be able to have something to distract us from the situation we're in. We would love a good game to distract ourselves with when we are upset. We'd love a good meal when there's hardly anything to eat, and we'd love to just be able to actually say we're full. Not to say that I live in this terrible poverty-like lifestyle, but I certainly am not like in the upper class level of... I'm not in the upper class of what finances should be in the United States. So for me, gratitude is something that has really helped me to doubly appreciate what I have because I recently had to do what I call the great purge of gaming when I had to sell most of my video games and my amiibos and even some of my gaming merchandise just to make sure that I could pay the bills. I know some of you might be thinking that I'm trying to gain sympathy points by bringing up that I did this huge sacrifice and that I'm this such a virtuous person because I sold most of my video games. Well, I'm not trying to do that. I know the internet will make accusations anyway, and I just have to deal with it because that's the nature of the internet. But the point I'm trying to make is that I did that out of one, desperation, and two, trying to help my family. But I also had a third objective. Granted, I would have done it anyway, even if this third objective hadn't happened, but it was something I was thinking in the back of my mind, and that was what if the things that I sell are able to help or bring joy to other people that might need it more? Does it really matter if I have all the collector's edition stuff for Fire Emblem Three Houses if I never end up using all that stuff? What if I gave it to people who would actually want it? Or people that would be overjoyed? Maybe there's someone out there who doesn't get anything for Christmas, and the one thing that person gets is the launch edition of Fire Emblem Three Houses, complete with everything except the calendar and the soundtrack CD. They'd be ecstatic and they'd say, "Wow, this is so great." That kind of joy that could come from me not needing all that extra stuff, even if it was done out of desperation, still wanted to be able to help people. I didn't need all the 128 amiibos that I had. Some of them might have helped, like some of them really helped in subsequent playthroughs of Breath of the Wild, but I didn't need them. And with Nintendo recently having more of distancing themselves from Amiibo, I really didn't need to future-proof them, as was my excuse when I was still Amiibo hunting. But there are people out there who might like the toys for their aesthetic value or to be able to feel the lovely textures. And to those people, I thought, well, maybe they'd really like those amiibos. Maybe they could get some cool extra stuff if they're playing games like Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World or Tears of the Kingdom where they might need the extra materials to help them out with the game because they're struggling. And it made me really, really thankful for the games that I didn't end up selling because those were the games that I really, really liked and saw myself wanting to return to those without something like a rental or being able to buy them from Amazon. Because while it's true that I have GameFly and that helps me to rent games, it's not guaranteed that they will always have those games in stock. They actually still advertise that they allow you to rent GameCube games on their site, but when you click on the GameCube games tab, there's nothing. So that makes me think, well, now that the 3DS and Wii U eShops are dead, that means the Wii U and 3DS are officially dead. So that means that who knows when they might stop having Wii U and 3DS games. In fact, if you look at GameFly's supply of Wii U games, there's hardly any left. So I won't have the luxury of being able to say, oh, if I get rid of Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, I won't need to worry about selling it because I can just rent it if I ever want to play it again. Well, who knows if that'll ever happen. At the current moment, it's pretty easy to rent almost every Switch game that I need because the Switch is technically still relevant as Nintendo's next system hasn't been announced yet. And usually the previous system is still supported pretty well by GameFly. The point remains that Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright is a game that I love. I've been able to help my mom have entertainment through writing a walkthrough about it, and it has some very interesting usages of the 3DS's stereoscopic 3D that makes it so that actually having the game in my hands is a better experience than watching a walkthrough because you don't get the stereoscopic 3D of Phoenix's finger appearing to point through the screen. So that's a game that I can see myself using and enjoying and possibly bringing joy to others. It also makes it so that The games that I still have are the games that I could probably also enjoy with the most friends. So a couple of examples of games that I still have that didn't get purged, and I'm going to leave all my digital games out of it. One, because most of the digital games I have aren't good, and two, you can't sell digital games. Uh, Mario Party Superstars, that's a great way to entertain friends and to find a way that everyone can come together, potentially hate each other, but uh, primarily to come together and enjoy themselves. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, same thing. A great way to be joyful and spend some good time with friends and family. And also, another cool thing about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is that if you have the DLC and you're in a lobby with someone who doesn't have it, those people still get access to the DLC even if they haven't paid for it, if only the person who formed the lobby has it. So for instance, if I start an online room of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, someone comes into that room who doesn't have the DLC, they will get a chance to play it because I have it. And so that's an indirect way of saving someone else money by keeping something that I bought. Mind you, I think I told you this story, but I actually bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe the same day that the Booster Course Pass was announced. Even funnier is that I only watched the announcement for the Booster Course Pass an hour after I got home from buying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. At the time that I bought it, I just thought, you know what, I've got some spare money on a gift card, and it would be nice to be able to have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just in case something happens to my Wii U and to be able to play it wherever. Then the Booster Course Pass came on, and I'm like, oh, I'm already paying for Switch Online, so I get that for free. But there are some people who don't have that luxury. Granted, they could still get the base tier. But yeah, they might have to pay an additional $25. And if they're anything like me, they want to save as much money as they can because they're in a position where really the only amount of money we can reasonably spend is for the bills. As of right now, most of the money that I'm able to actually spend for myself is my phone bill, my GameFly bill, and my Dropbox bill, as well as the occasional getting out money for church. And again, not trying to virtue signal or make you guys think that I'm being so generous, but to give you perspective into how I'm not really too fortunate when it comes to how much I'm allowed to spend on myself. But as a result of how much I struggle financially, it makes me more grateful for when other people are willing to be generous. It makes me very, very happy that, let me see if I can find it here. My sister didn't even try to hide that she's giving me a gift card for Christmas. She just put a bow on it and called it a day because she's like, Paul, we all know you want gift cards, so I don't need to bother wrapping it. And honestly, I feel like this helps prove my point even more. My sister knows that it is a rare luxury for me to actually be able to own a game. And with digital purchases, provided your system doesn't break down, you get to have that game forever. And so instead of a GameStop gift card, which would let me buy a physical cartridge that I could potentially sell if I'm ever in another financial situation, she's saying, Paul, I'm going to give you this card so that you can keep something and you can enjoy it forever. And maybe you can share that game with other people. And it's also Mario. So that immediately should give you the joy of excitement that Charles Martinet brought to Mario. More people could potentially take that avenue for gaming. To some people, actually, I would say most people take this perspective. The majority of people that play games don't do it for fun. If they're a game journalist, they do it because it's their job. But for everyone else, the main reason why they play games is escapism. They are having miserable things happening in their lives. Pretty much all of us are having something in our lives that's bothering us. I don't think there's a single person watching this who can honestly say that he or she has no problems whatsoever. And so to a lot of people, they use games as a way of temporarily removing themselves from their problems. Now, there is such a thing as too much gaming. I've certainly been guilty of that, but I think everything in moderation is a good rule of thumb. Even Jesus would drink so much and eat so much that the Pharisees called him a glutton. But yet, he proved that there's a difference between enjoying yourselves versus being greedy. With the limited money that I have, it prevents me from being greedy by default. And hopefully, by talking about the gratitude I have for the few things I am able to get for myself, then it can help people who are maybe more fortunate to be grateful for their great fortune and maybe inspire them to give a little bit more to people that have less. Maybe to someone in a third world country, they would love it if they had a winter coat. I would personally love it if, honestly, I can't think of too many things that I would want, because I feel like for me, what I really want is the bare necessities for getting through life. I want food, clothing, shelter, and I think water is the fourth one. And I have pretty much all of that. It may not be a luxury, but I have it. I have a house to sleep under. I have water. It may not be warm water, and I have to go to the gym if I want to take a shower or shave with hot water, but I still have it. It's possible to still shave with cold water. I just get more cuts. But it's not the end of the world. At least I can still do it. I still have a razor and shaving cream, so that's very nice. I still have food. I may not have as much food as everyone, but I think I eat pretty well. I'm 138 pounds, and for my age and height, that is decent. My doctors have never complained about it. I may not have a 5-course meal 3 times a day as maybe the richer people do, but it makes me so happy when I get to have a deluxe meal or get to eat more than normal. Like today, my mom made chicken because she had leftovers from a party that she went to, and I was so grateful for that chicken. I was devouring it because sometimes with the current budget that we have, we're not able to go out and splurge to Burger King or McDonald's every single day. And when we do, we typically reserve it for special occasions. Usually when my friends are over, they insist on treating me to the food. And I'm always so thankful for them because they have so much money, but yet they, instead of hogging the money to themselves, they use it to make me happy and to have a treat and to give us an opportunity to have fellowship together in a unique way by saying, hey, you know what? Food is a great way to bond, and you don't always get the luxury of being able to have a cheeseburger whenever you want, so we'll give you a cheeseburger. No, it may not be the healthiest thing in the world, but once in a while is not going to kill you. And so it makes me value my friends more because they're willing to step in and help if I really need it. And then that inspires me to step out and help people who are even less fortunate than me. It also inspires me to want to make this video so that the ripple effect can continue. So that maybe you might be a very fortunate person, and then that'll encourage you. Maybe if you have a lot of games that you don't play, give those games to people that would actually want them. Maybe there are people out there that want to actually play the GameCube version of Twilight Princess, but it's too hard to find or it's too expensive on Amazon, and you could either give it as a gift or maybe like a discounted price. Maybe if you're less fortunate, it could help you maybe want to literally count all the things that you do have and say, wow, I actually have some really great things. And I'm able to do that ever since I had the gaming purge. I'm able to count the games that I still have, literally, because I have like a Switch carrying case that has like individual slots for the games. And I'm able to look at every single one and say, I'm so glad I still have Nirvana Initiative. I'm so glad I still have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Party Superstars. I think I have Mario Odyssey, but I'm pretty sure that's just borrowed. The Nintendo Labo kit, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Banjo and Kazooie amiibo. That's not a lot compared to most people that play games as much as I do, but it was far less than what I used to have. And as a result of the smaller amount of games that I have, I'm more grateful for them than I was when I had a really good job and was able to afford an entire new system. However, I am currently in the works. I can't say the details yet because some of it involves legal matters, but I am in the works of trying to find a situation where I can get at least a little bit more money so that I have enough to pay the bills, but also enough to occasionally spend money on myself. But I don't want to become complacent if that happens. I want to be able to actually make a difference with that money. So I'm thinking, obviously, I don't know how things are going to play out, but if it turns out that I'm successful in being able to get more money than I know what to do with, I'm thinking I might use it to maybe help one of my friends who's struggling to get a job. And maybe I won't be able to pay as much as like a regular boss would, but I'd want to pay enough where that money could make a tangible difference in that friend's life. So if I get out of this current financial situation, it'll, by virtue of me starting out with very little and then suddenly having a lot, it's going to make me want to value my money more. It's going to make me want to help people more because I'll know that I have to be careful in how I help people. And it also makes me very grateful for my Patreon supporters. I know I thank them at the end of every video, and I know you guys might be tired of hearing it. And it may not be like the biggest amount because, they have lives, they have stuff that they need to do. But when you're in my situation, every little bit counts. I don't get paid for this YouTube channel. I probably would turn it down if YouTube offered, just because I know some of the tactics that I've heard that famous YouTubers have to do. And legally speaking, that might run into a couple of not so desirable territories. So as a result, I'm always so grateful whenever the third of every month comes by and I can take out my Patreon money. And my Patreon supporters have generally done some very generous things. Matthew Rakowski, for example, not only is he my highest tier patron, but he is constantly asking me if there's anything he wants to give me. As you know from this channel, I have shown off every single gift he's ever given me, from the Byleth amiibo to Nier Automata, which I didn't end up liking, Fatal Frame, which I also didn't end up liking. Even if I didn't like the games that he gave me, I was still so grateful for the fact that he gave me those games anyway, because in his abundance, he's willing to make someone who doesn't have an abundance happy. And then in making me happy, then I can make a video about gratitude to help you guys more. And in turn, it ends up making a difference. I know I might be considered a bit of a rambler with what I'm trying to say, but I guess the bottom line is, if you're less fortunate, count your blessings. If you're more fortunate, maybe be willing to share your abundance with people who don't have any. If you are somewhere in the middle, maybe you can think of how to do both. But no matter where you are in your financial situation, God always provides a way for us to get out of the worst case scenario. There's a Bible verse that oftentimes gets misinterpreted that says, God will never put you through a test that you cannot handle. And most people seem to say, well, if God really doesn't put you through a test that you can't handle, then why does he put people through horrendous suffering? But the Catholic interpretation of that is, God will never put you in a situation where you are forced to do a mortal sin, and no matter what you do, you will end up in hell. God will always give you the necessary grace that you need to make sure that even in your worst moments, it is absolutely possible for you to either repent or do the right thing and get to heaven. There is never a moment where God says this is the point of no return and you are absolutely doomed and you're a terrible, horrible sinner. And I know some Protestants have made the argument, well, what if I lust looking at a pornography sign and then I die in a car accident another second from there? God takes into account the desire for repentance or the fact that there wasn't a chance and gives an opportunity later. What does that have to do with gratitude, you might be asking? No matter how poor you are, no matter how wretched of a sinner you might be, God desires to give us mercy more than we desire to ask for it. And so even if you're so far removed from joy and happiness, God will still give you an opportunity to have everything. You can be happy forever. But in the meantime, we are not meant to just say, well, you know what, God will make us happy forever, so we just shouldn't even bother living because heaven is so much better. We may not know the exact reason why God put us on this earth, but God does. And God wants us to live to the best of our abilities to help others. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the solution is that there are people out there that don't want to die. You'd be surprised how many people are out there that think that death is their worst fear, and so they would give anything to keep living. Maybe that's why we should keep living, is so that those people who are terrified of going through the process of death might be able to live a little bit longer because we did not think selfishly and we thought, well, I don't need to live because I've got heaven. Well, maybe those people don't know that they have heaven. Maybe to them, they're so scared of the unknown of whatever they believe instead of heaven. And we can be that witness to give them hope of, hey, dying is not as terrible as you think. So, in your abundance of not only wealth, but also wisdom, you can change so many lives by even just the simplest thing. I'm sure you guys know the story of when I met the girl wearing a Harry Potter t-shirt in the reconciliation line for NCYC. I won't tell you the whole story again because I'll save that for my other videos about changing lives. The bottom line is that I was not talking to that girl in the hopes of changing her life. I saw Harry Potter and I said, I want to talk about it. But as the line progressed, because we were so comfortable already with Harry Potter, it led into us having a deeper conversation, and it led to me, I don't know if I actually changed her life at that moment, but I at least got her thinking about what the church teaches on certain issues. And so that was an example of where something as innocuous as a t-shirt ended up making a huge difference. There were the 12 girls that hugged me on mission trip. They didn't probably think anything of it. They're like, okay, we see a guy and he said some nice things. Let's just give him a hug, whatever, be done with it. I don't think any of them realized the impact that that hug had. And it made me so grateful that I got to experience that when I almost didn't go on the mission trip that year. The day before the trip, I was heavily considering abandoning the trip and instead going to hang out with a friend. And that friend just barely convinced me a few hours before I was ready to leave. No, Paul, I don't want you to skip a trip because of me. This is an important deal for you. And just imagine what would have happened if I hadn't gone on that mission trip. I think I would have still been in depression. I would have still hated women. But because those girls, well, not just the girls, God also, but because those girls were willing to be used for God's will, it ended up changing my life so that I could change others' lives and then they could change the other lives. And so that makes me very grateful for that mission trip, despite all of the suffering, despite the fact that it was really hard for me to be happy the first couple of days, despite that it was really hot and we had really annoying boys in our dorm and we had that trumpet blower. The joy of the moment overwrote the negativity. Even if you look at my 2015 mission trip, the mission trip that infamously is known for being the one that I didn't like. Even on that trip, there were two teenagers in particular that I remember they were really changed by what I had to say. There was this one girl, I'm not going to repeat the whole stories because again, I've got at least 2 videos talking about that trip alone. There was one girl who was concerned that she was possibly going to die very soon, if not on that trip, and she specifically chose to come to me at Four Corners when there were plenty of other adults carrying candles. And after I finished talking to her, I won't say exactly what I said because, again, lots of other videos, but after that conversation, she went from being fearful and literally shaking to being joyful and smiling. And then she and 2 other of her friends asked me to come back on that trip. And I initially said no way, but then I asked them to pray the St. Joseph's Novena. And I assumed that they did because, like, 6 months later, I felt this strong stirring in me that I had to go on the next mission trip, even though I had declared that I wouldn't. And then that mission trip led to so many other great things happening. And then there was that boy on that 2015 mission trip who was a Greek mythologist. And so he wasn't too thrilled with all the people at the camp because they were all Catholic and a lot of them were talking down on him and saying that he was this terrible sinner for not believing in God. And I chose to hear him out. I chose to say, okay, well, if you want to discuss the differences in our religion, I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to prove why we believe what we believe without just saying because the Bible says so. And at the end of the trip, he gave me a hug, which, mind you, he was not the type of person that seemed like the touchy-feely type. If For those of you that are in my Myers-Briggs audience, he was probably either an ENTJ or an ISTP, which you know are some of the least touchy-feely types. And he said, I want to go on this trip again because you're the first Catholic that's ever treated me nicely. So if those crazy random occurrences can happen over really innocuous things like a t-shirt. And the fact that I went on those trips in the first place is because the reason why I went to youth group in the first place was because my best friend at the time was going. I wasn't thinking about wanting to change lives. I was thinking, it's another excuse to hang out with my best friend, and my mom was also kind of forcing me. And then that led to one thing after another and another. That led to the mission trip. That led to me getting out of depression. That led to another girl helping her friend get out of wanting to commit suicide. The ripple effect was amazing. So who knows if games can't do the same thing? If the Harry Potter shirt did it, maybe you talking about your experiences with Nirvana Initiative could help a person get new perspective because maybe there are themes in Nirvana Initiative that might change a person's life. Maybe when you play Zero Escape, you can talk about however many Catholic moments there are. You never know when something that doesn't seem Catholic could end up being used for God's will. So ultimately, be grateful for everything. Unless if it's like outright banned from the Catholic Church, like I don't think any good can come out of, say, a condom or a birth control pill or anything like that. But if it's something that isn't inherently sinful, but also isn't inherently godly by design, it could become a way to be godly by virtue of how God gives us the ability to change people's lives. Don't ever rattle out anything as being not able to be grateful for, not able to change lives, not able to make a difference in the world. Because, as Jesus said, even the woman who only put in 2 copper coins into the basket gave more than the people who gave in their abundance. So maybe you, in what little you have, could make a huge difference. Maybe those of you that have a lot could help other people have a lot, and that will create a ripple effect of helping more people. This went way more of a tangent than I hoped it would, but I hope that you all can learn to really appreciate what you have and really be willing to be open to whatever it is God wants you to do. Even if maybe you have a t-shirt that has pizza on it, maybe that can persuade you to go and treat someone to pizza if that person says, I like your shirt. Not a bad idea, because I have a shirt just like that. And just to be open to the possibility that your generosity and your abundance is able to help someone's life. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Thank you again to my Patreon supporters, Matthew Rakowski, Sploon Ghost, and Splatcat, especially if they've gone above and beyond just being Patreon supporters, such as Sploon drawing some artwork for one of my videos and my previous banner art for my channel, Splatcat for contributing to one of my videos and doing video calls, Sploon too. We've done voice calls. Matthew Rakowski, we usually talk every month, so they've provided even more than what they said that they would. So there's another example of where I'm grateful for even more than just their support. Thank you to all of you who comment on the videos. To me, likes and subscriptions aren't important unless if the people are actually into it. So thank you very much for giving me my love language, which is quality time, and giving me a quality conversation. Thank you all if you shared my videos. Thank you all if you contributed in any way to my well-being, because for all you know, maybe your contribution will help me contribute to someone else's well-being, and so on and so on. Okay, with that, I am officially done. So just remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!